Hello and welcome back to Reaching for Petals with me, Bardon. We're on chapter 4 now, and I believe it's the last chapter. And you can see we're getting to the end of the day, and we're also getting close to the top of the mountain. And for whatever reason, I can't actually look around right now. Not sure what's going on with that. Maybe if I... Hang on, give me a sec. Hello and welcome back to Reaching for Petals with me, Bardon. So we're on chapter 4 now. I believe it's the last chapter. And as you can see, we're getting close to the end of the day. We're in nighttime now, and we're also getting close to the top of the mountain. We've got the moon there. Up in the sky, we've got the stars out as well. That's something that I really miss. Not living in the countryside anymore, is actually being able to see the stars at night. When you're in the city, there's just so much glare that
the finality of existence is among the highest truths, reaching back to the conception of creation. Nothing lasts forever, regardless of the implications granted by the numerous promises made in one's lifetime. Love brings loneliness. Joy carries pain. Life leads to death. Everything ends. To dream of everlasting is futile. What is left behind will eventually be forgotten. There is no avoiding these words. The clock's hands continue to strike each hour without failure. Its face unnerved, tirelessly turning the circumference of infinity. Every stroke signals the edge of one universe and the genesis of another. May the gears that turn over time never cease. What will happen then to this world? Will it stop, or shall it find continuation without the need of its keeper?
Okay, so let's figure out where we're going from here. Doesn't look like we're going over, unless we go out, but I don't think that's going to allow us to go over here. Maybe it will actually. Or we can at least try to jump. Yeah, we can get by there. It's good. Looks like we've hit an invisible wall though. Can't really move forward. Okay, so that's not the way to go. I think we have to switch back there and go up. Okay. So I've enjoyed the game so far. I know the game has gotten mixed reviews on Steam, with some people saying like it's just a walking simulator. That's something I mentioned at the start as well. But I've enjoyed the narrator. I found him very good. I know some people said they found it annoying, but I've enjoyed listening to him, and also we've enjoyed the environments as well. They've been very beautiful and kind of very rich. But the one criticism I would have is that I kind of want more from the game. It's nice that we get the memories and stuff and we get the narration along the way, but I'd like more to kind of interact with, or more to do. It's like, if it was compared to a game that I played recently, it would be What Remains of Edith Finch, which in the same way you were walking around and you were basically being told a story as you walked around. But with that, the way they did it was so good, because what they did was they made you part of the story rather than just letting you kind of click buttons to advance the story. You know, we got to be the people in the story, and we also got to do some very fun things. Like we got to be an eagle that was catching rabbits, and a sea monster that was eating people. Where are we going here? I guess there's another switchback. Oh, I think we're actually going up this tree. Okay, that's interesting. That's nice. That's one of the things though in the environment I like about this game, is that like this kind of interaction with the natural world as well. So pretty sure we're going up. But as I was saying, What Remains of Edith Finch made the story so much better because they had you interacting in the story. And then we had the when we were in the fish factory, and we were guiding, we were basically doing two things at the same time. We were cutting the heads off the fish, and we were also walking down through the city, past all the people while the brilliant music was playing. And again, it was a very good way to draw you in. Whereas here, it feels, although it's a beautiful environment, it just feels like a backdrop rather than, somewhere that you don't really feel like you're there. Kind of feel like this is just nice scenery until we find the next petal. And I'd rather have more kind of things to
At this
interact
peak,
with.
above all created by man and its superior, feelings of forfeiture force deeper than any wounded heart can bear. It is here where the troubled soul will at last find peace from the bombardment of huddled empathy. There is nothing that can be said to ease the pain of brokenness. Two rings join together to become eternity. And still, this is not enough. Total transcendence requires more than a promise, metal, and a seal. More than love. One must relinquish themselves completely and give only to the other. But any lack of strength will cause the union to shatter, regardless of sickness or health.
Okay, again, very interesting to listen to him. And as a the voice acting is very good. Like I really like his voice, and it's very easy to listen to. And as I said, there's so many good things about the game, but I just feel it could have been, for me it's a good game, but I think it could have been a great game. Whereas for other people, they obviously didn't like the game, and I think for them, if there had been a bit more effort, maybe they could have turned them, from what they may have seen as a poor game into a good game, just with a bit more effort. But still, I can't, I'm not knocking the people who made the game, because there's so many good things about it. It's just that it's one of those things where it's more kind of a disappointment because of what it could have been.
I was wrong to believe that there was nothing else waiting on the other side of the veil. Perhaps my sight became riddled with self-doubt and the fear of beginning again. I could never forget. To forget her would be a crime with no just punishment, not even after death. Surely there is nothing more foul to have forsaken an ideal so pure. The hallowed words of matrimony do mention the inevitability of separation. But regardless of my words of the past, my speaking during this journey, I never gave up hope. The hope to see her again someday. As I traveled the vacant Gaia, I searched to hear her voice, seeking the answer to why. Why did we not deserve the jubilations we dreamed during our youth?
I'm not sure it's a case of deserving. It seems like the part being played by the narrator is someone who believes in fate, as in Fate rather than Faith, and believes that in kind of things like karma, in that they feel that they must have done something wrong not to get their happily ever after. But I don't believe life is like that. I think you can do everything right and still things just happen in life. People pass on, or people argue at the wrong moment, or things like that, and sometimes things are completely out of your control. Like you might have a couple who are happily married, and then say like in what's happening there, but say in the financial crisis, so financial crisis happens, no fault of yours, you end up losing your job, no income coming in, maybe you have kids, you got your wife, you got a mortgage, you lose your home, then you lose your family because you can't support them anymore, and your happily ever after is gone. And the reason it's gone is because some guys who were working in banking, who thought they knew everything, got a shock and realized that they didn't know very much at all. So that's why I don't believe in things like fate, because I think there's just so much out of our control, that, and it's not in the control of some higher force or higher being. It's just a case of everything that we do as a person, every choice we make affects us, but it also affects everyone else. So I don't really believe in self-determination either, because that would to me, that would say that we had complete control over how our lives are gonna come out. Whereas I just believe that it's all just random, really, just random chaos. And you could be the best person in the world, and shitty things can happen to you, and you could be like the biggest dick in the world, and somehow everything just falls into place for you, because maybe you win the lottery or something like that. I think we got ourselves stuck here. There we go. Okay, so we weren't supposed to go up there. I have to say, games that are as beautiful as this, they always make me want to just explore. I want to go where I'm not supposed to go. I just want to keep on rambling on. Okay, this looks like it may be a set of steps for us to work our way up. I'm not too sure about this one though. We might have to go off around this way, yeah, and make our way up that way. Oh, fell down the hole. This is gonna be, I think this is gonna be annoying. There's no reason for that gap to be there either. We should be able to just go up here instead of having to deal with all this crap. Look, it just keeps dropping us. Why is it? Now this is frustrating because this looks like it's the way we're supposed to go. Let's just run and jump and then not move at all when we're over there. Okay. Right, now let's try going this way. No. Okay. Yeah, whoever thought this bit at the end would be fun, sorry, but it's not. Okay, we're there. Finally. God. So you have to jump and stand there and then turn at a certain angle and then jump this way. That is annoying. Okay, let's just press on anyway. Let's try and forget that. Okay, so we're getting some kind of palpitations there. I'm definitely getting palpitations from the stupid jumping puzzle. And that's annoying because I've enjoyed the game. And that last bit there has ruined some of my enjoyment. And like, you haven't seen most of the frustration because I've cut most of it out, I'm sure, at this stage. Let's push on. Let's try and forget it and just concentrate on the fact that we've got a nice end to the story coming up. Well, a good end. Good, nice, a well-written end to the story. Let's put it that way. Don't know whether it's going to be good or nice or happy. Probably not, given the kind of hints that have been dropped so far. Oh, look at this Aurora Borealis. Unless we're in the southern hemisphere, then it's the Aurora Australis. Australis, is that right? Something like that. Okay, we've got the fireflies coming back as well, or wherever they are.
The tiny orbs of light from the depths of the mountain join me once more, flickering a path towards the summit, to the Alpha and the Omega of all things. For what exists now fell from the sky as rain, and there I shall return by the flickering flame of the night's messengers. I am no longer alone. I have reached the end of our journey here together.
It's interesting, he referenced the whole cycle of rain and ocean previously as well. Seems to be something important to him. One bit that I found that was nice.
But wait.
Oh.
What is this at the top of the mountain? This familiar form that has been forever etched into my mind. The roaring winds and the rising torches make evident it is she, the one whom I have been seeking. The only reason I have left to continue onward. Has she been waiting here for me? No, that is not the case. She has always been with me. There were 2 steps for every one taken on this journey. Renee, I have finally found you.
Yeah, I was going to say, the fact that we saw her in the last chapter, it would have been nice to have had that kind of earlier, where it was a kind of a mystery. So I guess we're going in to the end now. And something as well, while this is loading, it would have been nice to have, the whole thing was about flowers and petals. It would have been nice to have either a reason why it was the same flower all the time, or to have different flowers for each chapter to signify that there was a different feeling associated with each flower or something like that. But let's see what we have here. So we've got Renee. At the top of the mountain, Renee stretches out her hand towards me, and my soul is brimming with our childhood innocence. I am in awe yet again. It's just like our first meeting, all those many years ago. The feeling is not quite as it once was. Many years have passed, and our hearts are not as soft as they once were. But there is something to be said about the completeness we now share. Through every smile and every tear, we are still looking at one another in the same way, with all the wonder, all the love, and all the promise that is created by young love. We have had oh so many years with one another, and it was impetuous of me to have taken them all for granted. Together we have lived with enough love to withstand the vastness of eternity. There is no longer a reason for despair. She has reminded me now of the promises we made so long ago. You told me you would take me to the top of this mountain, didn't you, Kai? Let's react confidently, because I think now our spirits are buoyed, and you know we got that kind of can-do attitude, I think, about us now. You remember the time when you were children and you promised to take Renee to the top of the mountain and described it to Renee in detail. Tragedy kept you from fulfilling this promise. Life's decisions are what led to this being the first and only time you would both make this journey to the summit. While it is a sweet moment to have finally fulfilled that vow made all those years before, this should not have been the day at the parting of souls. I've been looking for you for so long, Renee. Where did you go? We were going to get married. What happened? Renee weeps. Kai, I'm not the one who has been gone. Please, take my hand, so you will remember. Ah, so Kai is a spirit. Interesting. So we were playing a ghost. Take her hand. Oh, this isn't good. So we got X-ray, cardiology, emergency.
And here we are, at the beginning of all things, and at the end of this history's tomorrows. Love always was, and always will be the guiding light that brings you home, no matter the distance, whether it be across the world, throughout time, or transcending existence. Love will find a way. You will never be alone, my dearest Renee. I wish I could leave you with more solace than this, but know that what we have will never truly end. No matter how dark the world may seem, no matter the paths your life takes you, even if you find another, know that this will be all right. I want you to be happy forever. You have given me more than I could ever ask for, my darling. A life filled with joyous perfection. Know this for now and for always. I will always love you.
Yeah, so poor El Kai passed away. And then we're back at the start, and that's it. And I guess that's the end of the game. So, yeah, it was a very interesting story, and it was good. The kind of the premise that we were playing Kai, and Kai had actually already died, and we were basically playing the spirit of Kai, and kind of learning about his relationship with Renee as we went. And then we had Kai narrating to us as well as we went up, and kind of giving some hints and some details as we went. But as I said, there could have, I just feel like there could have been more in the game. The story was good, but I would like more of the story, kind of more of what happened between Kai and Renee in their kind of middle years, because basically we went from being childhood sweethearts to prom to proposal, and then to, oh no, Kai's dead. What about the bit in the middle where the kind of, he talked about having all those magical years together. So I would have liked to seen a bit of that. I would have liked to have more interaction with the environment, to feel like it wasn't just a painted backdrop. It wasn't just like a it felt like anybody who's watched old cartoons, where if the cartoons are running, then the same background would just whiz by all the time as they were running. and I just kind of repeat and repeat. It kind of felt like that as well. That it was just something there to give a sense of motion rather than something for you to be in, as it were. So would I like to interact with the environment more, and also would I like to have more story elements in the environment, and also to have a longer experience as well. And then in terms of the actual story itself, to also have a bit more interaction with the story too, not just to be like, you know, this passive observer, but to feel like I was discovering the story, rather than the way it was I walk to a certain point and then I find a petal, and then I touch the petal, and then I get the next part of the story as my little reward for I was going to say walking the maze, but you're not even, it's like one track. And then at the end, there were no petals involved in the last sequence. We just kind of walked until we got close enough to Renee, and then we went to the hospital. So there wasn't even that thing there of the reaching for petals, and there was never really an explanation of, you know, as I said, why the flower there is actually is the one that was used and is kind of special for triggering the memories, you know. And if that flower wasn't special, then why couldn't we have a different flower for each memory sequence? You know, just to give a bit of variety, and also to kind of you know, with a clever choice of flowers, you could show kind of how the relationship would change over the years as well. Like they've obviously got good writers, and I'm sure that the writer could have you know, talked about how a particular flower represented a particular kind of, say, piece of personality, or stages in a relationship or something like that. But there wasn't really anything like that. So again, I enjoyed the game, but my overall feeling is that it could have been so much better. It could have been a lot better than it was. There's kind of, it's, you know, sometimes a game comes along and you look at it and you think like, yeah, this bit's okay and that bit's okay and that bit's okay, but then the whole game together is really, really good. But then you get a game like this where you think the story is good, the music is excellent, the visuals are really good as well, and the narration is excellent too. But then it feels like it's less than the sum of the parts. You know, it doesn't feel like the overall experience is up to the same level as the individual parts. And so you kind of, instead of feeling like, oh, I enjoyed that game, I'm glad, I want to, you know, I want to play another, like if they have a DLC in the future, oh, I'm really looking forward to the DLC. Instead, kind of feel almost a little bit hollow, that I enjoyed it, but it's done now, and my enjoyment never kind of peaked, you know. And especially at the end there with that silly jumping thing, that kind of frustrated me. And then I still had that frustration when I went to the final sequence. So yeah, whoever put that bit in the game, my advice would be, don't do that again. You know, if you're working on a future game, don't do that again. In a game like this, there's no need for something like that. There's no need for something that can, when like all the player has to do is basically follow a sequence and go to a place. There's no need for something where you can fail over and over again with something that should be very simple. And like having to jump and stop and then and then turn at the right angle, and then kind of jump over another little lip. You know, especially in a game like this where the walking pace is slow, so you want to press forward. You want to keep pushing forward. You don't want to be stood still, because the pace of the narration and the pace of your movement are kind of are linked to the kind of point where if you can kind of walk at the normal pace, and the narration is about the right length for when you get to the next piece of narration, or when you get to the next, you know, something to do. So there's no real kind of incentive as the player for you to be stood still. You want to keep moving forward. So as I said, that bit was frustrating for me. I don't know whether it's just for me or if other players had the same thing with it, but as I said, overall it's a good game. Whether I'd recommend it to someone else to play, though, is another thing altogether, because as I said, it's a good game, but it's not a great game. But what I would recommend is that anyone who likes really good game music, get the download, the DLC, the soundtrack of this game, because the music is excellent. And so in terms of the game itself, good game, probably wouldn't recommend it, but the soundtrack definitely recommend. That's got, like, for me, 4.5 out of 5 stars for the soundtrack, and it's definitely worth getting that DLC. Hopefully you can, I take it you can buy well, they're separate on Steam, so I guess you can get the music without getting the game. But basically that's the end of the series. And again, this is part of my drive to bring more story-driven games to the channel. So there's definitely going to be another story-driven game coming soon. So at the moment we're playing Ken Follett's The Pillars of the Earth, and I've also have recorded Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, so that's going to be coming up on the channel soon as well. And as soon as I get this video edited, I'm going to go into my Steam library and see what in there could be the next story game after that. But if any of you guys have suggestions on a good story-driven game for me to try out, by all means post in the comments and I'll give them a look. And if it's something that I think I'm going to enjoy, I'll definitely play through it. But that's it from me. I hope you have enjoyed this series, and I hope you're enjoying my channel overall. And as always, you know, it really helps if you guys share and thumbs up and all that kind of stuff. Post comments, they're huge. It's a huge help for someone like me. But I really do hope to see all of you in the next series. Goodbye. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe you'll hit the subscribe button there on the right and check out some other videos here on the left.